Yeah! Guten Morgen, you scoundrels. Good morning. Today we're going to talk about propane, and we'll get right to it. So propane is at between 100 and 200 psi in the bottle, depending on the temperature. Now, if your propane bottle is sitting behind, a glass wall or window, it's going to heat up, and the pressure inside the bottle is going to go up. So as a safety feature in the propane bottles, or in the neck, which is right in here, it's kind of hard to see it, but it's in the neck here, there's a pressure relief valve. If your pressure becomes too high in the propane bottle, this pressure relief valve will let some pressure off the bottle, and that is a safety feature. And this is why you should not leave your propane inside a vehicle. You should have a way to, hold it in the floor with a cover over it so the propane will leak out through the bottom of the floor, or have it outside. Now, because propane is heavier than air, you need your propane detectors as closest to the floor as you can get. I've seen in some videos people have their propane detectors high up on the wall, and therefore the vehicle is going to fill up with propane first before the detector will go off. So again, propane detectors at your lowest point on the floor. Propane is heavier than air, and that way your propane detector will work. Now, propane in the bottle is at minus 47 degrees Fahrenheit. Anything above 47 degrees Fahrenheit, the propane will turn to vapor. And that's why you want to leave your propane bottle standing upright. If you lay it down and use it, you'll get liquid propane in your appliances, and that's not good. Do not lay your propane tanks down. You got to leave room in the tank for expansion to turn from liquid form to a vapor. So never turn your propane tank on its side to use it. Your propane will expand at 277 times its original form when it's in liquid form. So when it's in liquid form and turns to a vapor, it'll expand 277 times more. This is why you don't want liquid propane going into your immediate environment, because if you got liquid coming out, it will expand 277 times, which is very deadly, of course. So that's what you got to be aware of. So let me just check my notes here. I think we got it. Now, propane smell has what's called ethyl mercaptan in it. Ethyl mercaptan. And this is the stuff they add to propane to make it stinky, I guess you say, so you can smell if you have a propane leak. The other thing I'd like to talk to you about today is propane regulators. So have you ever turned on your barbecue and you only had like half a flame and it wasn't heating up, and you think that your barbecue is all messed up? Well, within the last 10 years, the new regulators have what I call, and there is a more technical term for that valve, but I just, to keep it simple, call it a slam valve. So you turn your propane on and your barbecue on, and you're finding, oh no, my barbecue's no good, there's no flame, there's something wrong with it. Well, it's your regulator. What it is if you turn your regulator on too fast, or have a situation where your knobs are turned on and then you turn your propane on, the slam valve in the regulator will think there's a leak and it'll slam closed. Now, I don't know why it doesn't slam all the way closed, because it still lets some propane through the line. So if you had a hole in your line, it will slam almost all the way closed, and I don't understand why it does that. I've tried to look it up why the slam valve doesn't turn the propane right off, but it doesn't. So you end up with a situation where you think your barbecue is no good, and the way to correct this is turn your barbecue off, turn your tank off, then take your line off the tank and let it purge. Then after about 30 seconds to a minute, they say about 30 seconds, but I like to give it about a minute, you take the pressure out of the hose, then the slam valve will reset itself. And once the slam valve reset itself, then you can hook up your line back to your propane tank, and then slowly always turn your propane tank on. And the reason for that is because if you crank it open too quick, that slam valve will think there's a leak and it'll slam closed on you again. Or if you've left the appliance on and you turn your valve on, because it's not stopping it, it's going to also think it's going to leak and it'll slam off. So it's really confusing, but it's always, just remember this. Make sure let's say you're using your barbecue. Make sure your barbecue's off, make sure your tank's off, and then turn your tank on very slowly so it doesn't ram that slam valve, and then you should be okay. Now when you're done using it, what you want to do is turn your appliance off first, then turn your propane off next. This way you have some pressure in the line still. A lot of people like to drain that pressure off in the line, but there's no need to. If both appliances are off, in other words, your propane is shut off, your barbecue shut off, then if you did get a leak in that hose, you're only going to have a tiny bit of propane leak into the air, which wouldn't be deadly. By leaving the pressure in that line, next time you turn your barbecue on, you'll turn the tank on slowly again, but because there's pressure already in that line, because you've done it correctly, you won't hit that slam valve or activate the slam valve again. And if you don't do that, just still turn your propane on slow and you should be okay. But that will alleviate your problems with what you think is a wrecked appliance or even a bad regulator, which is not true. Your regulator is quite fine. It's just the slam valve. And you release the pressure off of it by taking the hose off the tank and letting it sit for a minute. And then you can hook it all back up. Turn the valve on slowly and you'll be fine. So I hope that was somewhat useful to you. Yeah, skull!